Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March the 20th. It is now 7 p.m., and we are opening up our public hearing on incoming mayor's salary. Is there a motion to open the meeting?
I'll make that motion as stated.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, this meeting is now in order. Okay, so the first order of business, it's not on here, but I'd like to do it anyway, is to have a pledge of allegiance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, if we could have a moment of silence so that we can think about the shut-in and those affected by all of the things that are happening in the world today, and particularly the school shooting here in Maryland. And let's take a moment. And can we have a moment of silence to think about the things that we're blessed with, our families, our friends, our loved ones, our health, and the air that we breathe. Okay, thank you. Okay, so this evening we're here to have a conversation in relationship to ordinance for the incoming mayor's salary. As you guys may know, the salary of the mayor or the council are all set for the time that they're in office, and the only time that there can be a change is prior to an election. This particular ordinance, I'm going to read it to you specifically. It says, this is ordinance number 02-2018, an ordinance concerning the repealing and reenactment with amendment section 105 of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of Colmar Manor for the purpose of increasing the salary of the mayor and providing additional compensation for the mayor when she provides full-time services to the town, defining the term full-time services and generally correcting and revising certain provisions for the town code necessary for said amendments and provisions. Be it enacted by the Mayor and Town Council of Colmar Manor that Section 1-105, Article 1, Administration of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of Colmar Manor, be and the same is repealed and reenacted with amendments to read as follows. Section 1-105, Salary of the Mayor and Council. The mayor shall be paid an annual salary as set forth in the annual budget of the town in the amount for the budget year beginning July 1st, 2018, not to exceed the sum of $10,000, changing it from $9,000. Each council member shall be paid an annual salary as set forth in the annual budget of the town in an amount not to exceed the sum of $6,000. Notwithstanding the provision hereon, the salary of the mayor and each member of the council shall be increased during their present term of office. Starting with the budget year beginning July 1st, 2018, the mayor shall, upon a determination of the full town council at which the mayor shall absent him or herself, that the mayor is the primary administrator of the town government. The mayor shall be paid so long as the mayor performs the services of a town administrator. An additional annual stipend of $15,000 should the mayor inform the town council or should the town council determine by majority vote that the mayor is no longer providing town administrator services, then the additional annual stipend of $15,000 shall cease. This provision can be restored at any time given agreement between mayor and council. The mayor shall also be entitled to receive health insurance and/or reimbursement for an amount up to the amount the town would pay for insurance. All payments provided for in this section 1-105 shall be paid according to the same manner as payment of the salary to town employees. It ends, as it always has, severity. In any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phase, portion herein is held to be invalid or unconstitutional by a court or competent jurisdiction, then the decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining portion thereof. Be it further enacted that this ordinance shall take effect on the 45th day following its enactment. And this was introduced on the 13th day of February. So, with that being stated, I'll give you a little history on the reason for this particular ordinance proposal. I've been mayor for approximately 4 years at this time, and during the first 3 years of my service, I found it very difficult to be able to have the administration of the town as I was interested in doing. I wanted to see far more efficiencies. I wanted to see our facility being used more. I wanted to see our public works and our other recreation and so forth all being tracked and clearly informed as to what was going on so that we would be able to inform the townspeople and have records, status reports, and such. I myself have been an administrator for many, many years. I have over 20 years of management experience. In my second year, after my second year, I was going to basically eliminate some positions and decide to hire a town administrator. I made a different decision, and we put money in the budget in order to train our employees in customer service, in computer programming, dealing with difficult people, many other type of training, writing skills, and so forth. So we spent a year in doing that. While we've had a lot of successes, and we've been having successes, it was still frustrating not to have the eyes on the town. And having employed now 5 people work here, full or part-time, who live in the town, which is a part of that strategy, because when people live in the town, they tend to have more eyesight on what's going on in town, and the town hall in particular. Unlike other towns, we have a town hall, which is a product. It's something that we sell. And it also takes up a lot of time and energy in maintaining this product. It's very important that this product is taken well care of, but it also is being used. So that played a big role, and that's a big difference in what we have to do here in town to other towns. So at the end of my 3rd year, I made the decision to terminate the office manager. The office manager was the highest ranking full-time person who we had on staff and overseeing things. Mr. Baden, our clerk treasurer, who is the person people report to, essentially is here 1 day a week, and basically does not really have, while he has great treasurer skills and clerk skills, the ability to actually say, what do we need to happen in town? What is going on in this town? So over the last year, I decided to just take on that work. Being here just about every day, informing Public Works, really focusing on what was going on with our code enforcement, our police department, and we really started to make real change in accepting credit cards. You know, basic things of having a tracking record for our Public Works, so it's tracked what's going on, and we're tracking it. So maybe we put in work orders, and we'll be doing the same thing with code enforcement when we actually bring code enforcement back online again. So we realized that we had to make some further personnel changes, which we've made, and at this time we are working on hiring a code enforcement and 2 officers. These transitions were necessary for us to start to move the town into the 21st century. And so that is what we're doing. So as I thought about this, when the question was asked when I was terminating the office manager, well, what kind of person do you want in here running the place? And I said, somebody like me. So that's the reason why I made the decision to take on the role of running things and seeing things run well, and that we start getting status reports and so forth. So I had to think about it. How would this work? I'm an independent consultant, And this year, as I've done this, it's taken away from my ability to make money. I'm still doing my consulting work, but I had to think about it. Some people said, well, why don't you go in for a full-time pay just like you would for a town administrator? I said, you know, it's probably not going to go very well with everybody. Not only that, some people said, well, if you put a salary up high, you're going to have everybody in the world wanting to run for that particular office. Okay. So I thought, well, let's make this an optional thing. No one knows if I'm going to get elected again. So no one knows if someone else who's elected is going to have the same skill sets that I have as an administrator. So therefore, the question is, well, if we made it one pay for an administrator mayor, then you're limiting who you might want to vote in as your mayor. Because you might want to vote in someone for your mayor who is not an administrator. They're an advocate for the public, and they're advocate for the town, and they go out and they represent you. And quite frankly, there's quite a few mayors that are like that. So the reason why this came out to be the way it is, where there's only $1,000 added to the salary. The salary hasn't been increased for, I think, 12 years. Since it was $9,000. So $1,000 is not an unreasonable amount to increase the mayor of the salary, or whoever the mayor might be. So then the idea is to put this option in. If there is someone who the council deems can be the administrator without hiring a town administrator, which is the other option, is to allow that mayor to have a stipend of $15,000. Now, the alternative is to hire a town administrator, which you would hire for about $60,000. And therefore, this in itself is a cost savings if you have a mayor who can also run the organization without having to hire an administrator. And so therefore, that's the emphasis of this particular ordinance and why it is set up the way it is. So you basically have a $10,000 mayor salary for whomever you elect as mayor, and then the council would have an option as having an administrator. Right now, I like doing this. I think it's effective and efficient, and it's a better way of doing it. And it's what I do. It's just, I like being the mayor, but administering and being in charge and being a project manager is something that I've done for many, many years. So it is something I know how to do. And so I like doing it. But it would be the council's decision to even say whether I could do it or not. So I feel like we made the proposal tight enough, so therefore it's not requiring that the $15,000 is a payment. It's basically something that can happen if the mayor that you select is a mayor that you feel will be an administrator. So with that said, I will open up the meeting to public comment. When you come up to comment, if you can, there's a sign-in sheet.
Yes, there's a sign-in sheet over there.
So whoever wishes to comment should be on the sign-up sheet, and I'll call you up.
Mayor, is there two? I want you to leave an extra one over there in case someone comes in after, and I'll bring it to you.
Anyone else? Oh, you just told me. Okay. Okay, so the first person we have on here is Mr. Hale, our former mayor. Thank you so much for being here from the 4200 Buckle Lawn Street.
Excuse me. Good afternoon, everyone. Madam Mayor and members of the council. I, Michael E. Hale, do formally announce my intention of running for the mayor in the May 1st, 2018 election. And furthermore, I'm here to vehemently protest the egregious attempt by the mayor to suggest an increase in salary based on her dismal display of leadership of this town. For the past 4 years, I can't even read my writing, I have observed at least 3 former mayors to step down because of issues of financial malfeasance. On that note, excuse me.
I didn't do anything.
Oh, I thought somebody said it. On that note, I am here to vehemently prevent this, quote, salary increase based on the fact that there's nothing that has occurred in this town over the last 4 years that warrant a pay raise for the mayor. Let me state the fact. When I lost the election in 2014, we had a police chief, we had 5 officers. Right now, all we have is 2 shiny cars and 2 police officers. That doesn't make sense to me. We got the drug dealers, we got the derelicts, and we got the drunks taking over the shopping center and all our public streets. I see people defecating, urinating all on the streets. I've been in this town 42 years. I drive up and down this town when I'm not working, in the morning and in the evening. And I sit and I just observe. We are the closest city in the world next to Washington, D.C. We deserve better than this. It does not make sense. I've been here, I raised both of my kids. My son's 47, my daughter's 42. They're doing fine, got their own houses and all of that. But all I'm saying is, I raised them here, and I don't like what I'm seeing. And as far as I'm concerned, it's about leadership. We can't be this close to Washington, D.C., even though we got another issue over there. They got another grand issue over there. But anyway, I'm talking about the issue over here. As a matter of fact, I've lived in Colmar Manor longer than I've lived anywhere else on the planet Earth. Because when I left D.C., I've been here ever since. And I moved here November 30th, 1977. And like I said, we had a police chief and 5 officers. Now we have 2 shiny cars and 1 chief and 1 Indian. And to me, how can you talk about progress when we have regressed? You know, I don't want my wife to have to walk down the street and somebody bust in their head because some derelict decided he on one of them highs or something, he gonna get his freak on. I see women walking up down the street afraid to death. We don't need any chief. We need some Indians patrolling these streets. We didn't have this kind of nonsense when I was mayor. And everybody that's been here long enough to know we didn't have these kind of problems when I was mayor. And I don't know what it is. I think I heard somebody say they had a cookout and gave somebody a chicken wing. My vote is worth more than a chicken wing. You can't bribe me for a chicken. I got a pocket full of money, you know. And I just don't like what I see. We got derelicts and drunks. They've taken over the towns and the shopping center. We pay the highest taxes in the state of Maryland. For what? What are we getting for it? The trash people leave more trash on the street than they put in the trucks. And it's the truth. I'm not up here trying to degrade anybody up here on this panel, but I'm speaking the truth.
Excuse me, we're actually having an ordinance meeting about the ordinance for the pay for the mayor.
That's what I'm leading up to it. If you allow me to finish you had your spiel?
What I'm saying is what we're having here is a conversation. This is not a referendum for mayor.
I understand
so this
what
is
you're
not
saying,
about who.
But if I don't,
whoever may come in as mayor, whoever the people
I
vote in as
all
mayor.
that, Ms. Barrow,
So it's just about the ordinance.
That's not what I'm
If you could just
about.
maintain that
I'm talking about the
ordinance.
state of the affairs in the town of Colmar Manor, Maryland, as we speak.
Mr. Hale,
and as it was in May of 2014.
Excuse me, Mr. Hale, we are having a public hearing about the ordinance, not the state of the town. This is about the ordinance. We can have
How can you separate A from B?
Because
they're all the same. The state of the town is because of this ordinance.
No.
We don't. What kind of services? Ask anybody in this audience. What kind of services are they getting for their taxes they're paying?
Mr. Hale.
Say that again. Thank you. Say it again.
Excuse me.
You can bang the gavel all you like. The fact is the fact.
This is not a candidate forum for mayor.
I'm not speaking about as a candidate. I'm speaking as a 42-year resident of this town.
You have an opportunity. You have stated that you're running for mayor. You have an opportunity.
This is not about me running for mayor. I'm talking about me as the 42-year resident of 4213 Lawrence Street.
But we're not here to talk about you. We're here to talk about the relevance of the ordinance.
Okay.
So the ordinance.
Let me get back to the relevance of the ordinance.
The ordinance has nothing to do about what the state of the town is.
Tell me, Madam Mayor, with respect to you and this raise and these health benefits and all this stuff, seems to me you're trying to rape the town to benefit your personal finances.
I have to get elected first for that purpose.
You already elected right now.
I have to be, but I won't. But this doesn't apply to me. This only applies to.
Well, let me say this right now.
Mayor.
Anybody that's in this office, if I get to be elected mayor, I'm going to rescind that because it doesn't make sense. We got one chief, one Indian, and you talking about a $25,000 raise? Somebody done cracked their head.
Well, we're not talking about a $25,000 raise.
Look,
we're talking about a
$1,000
raise.
You're trying to divide it up in different increments, but the
No,
bottom line
is
the same
whoever,
thing.
No, and I hope that if you were to become mayor, you understand the difference.
I am just like you preach the extolling of your profession. I'm a 42-year math educator in Prince George's County and D.C. public school system. I have taught trigonometry, algebra, calculus, all of it.
Mr. Hale, I am going to have to ask you to leave the podium.
You can't ask me to leave this podium. I have every right as a taxpayer to stand here.
But not forever.
I'm not. If you stop interrupting me, I'll finish.
I'm trying to get you back on. I have a right to say that this is a hearing about the ordinance. It is not about the state of the town. It is about the incoming mayor. Anyone who feels like the town is not being run well has a right to run.
I don't feel like it. I know it.
Has a right to run for mayor. Has a right to run for mayor, and they have a right to vote for whomever it is that they wish to. So we're not having a conversation about
that you're talking about for nothing. But give you an increase for what? What have you done?
This increase is not for me. The increase is for whoever is the incoming mayor.
You put that little cliche in there about incoming mayor, but that wasn't nothing but a bait and switch move.
I presume you believe I'm going to become mayor.
I doubt that verse.
Well, then that's
not on your path. Hey, as a matter of fact, let me finish.
Then you wouldn't have to.
You excuse. Let me finish. We, the citizens of the town of Colmar Manor, pay the highest taxes in the state, and we don't have anything to show for it. How can you in your right mind or left mind justify a raise of $25,000 to supplement your personal income on the backs of the citizens of this town? That's my grief. You know, I don't come to the town. When I was mayor, everything I need, I got in my pocket. I don't come to the town to look to pay my mortgage. My house is paid for, all of that kind of stuff. We deserve better. For the last 15 years or so, I have personally watched you destroy every venture that you've ever involved in, from the Port Town CDC to this pay raise. Enough is enough. How can you ask for an increase when the town is suffering an egregious decrease in services on every level? We, the town of Colmar Manor, are the closest municipality to the Washington, D.C. How can we be so unjust in our thinking? You have your minions running around here like puppets, but we have no services. Explain that to me. That is the key announcement when people live in this town. Being here every day hasn't produced any positive results. I am ashamed of of the lack of progress over the last 4 years. We deserve better. Elect me, and I will rescind the salary increase. Every local organization that you've been associated with has fallen on its tail. I surrender.
Thank you so much. However, I'm going to ask anyone else who comes up to limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. Respectfully, this is a former mayor, and so I did not make that. Okay, so I'm going to now call up Yolanda Barnett from the 3600 block of 41st Avenue.
She was just signing.
Oh,
She was just signing it.
okay. So the next person I have on here is Trina. Medford, okay, thank you. Ed Muchler.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I agree with a lot that past Mayor Hale said. I am also a past mayor. I have lived in this town for 69 years, and I've seen a lot of changes in this town. And now, this ordinance increasing the salary / administrator is totally wrong. This town here has the highest taxes in the state of Maryland. We have very little services.
None.
And if you check all the other communities around this size, around in Prince George's County, and none of them making the salaries that you're all making right now. And I cannot see doing that when our taxes, like I say, are the highest in the state. And with this increase and everything, our taxes will probably still go up. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. I will say that the idea in this, because I keep hearing an increase when this is really a decrease, this is basically to save $45,000 off of the taxes that we pay. We were previously paying $60,000 for a person, and so we're talking about 15 versus 60. So I just want to reiterate that before we move on.
Madam Mayor, can I ask you a question? How can that be a decrease when you fired the administrator you had and eliminated her salary? So that salary, she was making she was making $60,000. You got rid of that person. It's still a betterment to whomever the person's going to be mad. As I said, if I'm elected, they can have it. I got my own money. I'm a math teacher. I can count.
I'm sorry. You said you had a question. The question was that it was $45,000.
You trying to give us some of that wrong rate for the math?
No, it's a $45,000 savings. It's all that's to it. There's no funny math about that.
$40,000 savings, no police officer, no protection, no nothing.
Well, those are coming. The next person I have on the list is Adam B.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
You can pull it up if you need to come up a little higher. The whole thing. Yeah, there you go.
I don't really have much to say or add. I just have a few questions. I've just lived in Ward 4 3 years or so now. So I guess in general, I'm in favor of the ordinance as written. But just a couple side questions. So for the health insurance policy, I presume the town already has a policy or something. I guess I'm concerned about how much that could cost and if there's a way to limit it or.
So the town does have health insurance. And so all of the employees have health insurance, and the reason why it's written as it is that if the mayor did not go on the regular health insurance policy, the reimbursement would not be any more than what would have been paid. But a town administrator would have to have insurance too. So if we hired a town administrator, we're still paying the health insurance.
All right. And these are not at all questions that necessarily need answers to right away or whatever, just some things to think about. The second point I wanted to bring attention to is if there's a way to peg these things to inflation so we don't have to come back every couple of years and reset what these pay rates are. In general, I do think it's a good idea to have pay for the mayor and the council just so that it's not, you don't have to be super rich or retired to spend some time for public service. I know this is a lot of time out of a day and working people should be allowed to participate in the process as well. But yeah, I think just in pegging these things to some public rate of inflation, like CPI or something, would prevent having to come back every so often and redoing this. And then the third thing is, if the next mayor isn't manager, would we have to do a search? And is it possible to just get by with neither of these options if the next mayor or mayor down the line can't afford to spend the amount of time necessary to run the town, if it's possible to get by with neither? And those are just the 3 points I want to bring up. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, the next name I have on the list is Melissa Mantu.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I have a few questions. You said that there was a $45,000 in savings, and you spoke earlier, you said that you used that on training. Do you have you use that on training for the staff, right? Isn't that what you said we used that money for?
No, we did. We started last year training plans for the staff where last year we put $10,000 in the budget for training. So it's not, those are not, so the two things are not.
Okay, so then my question would be, where did we see that $45,000 in savings?
Oh, because we have to hire a town administrator.
No. Where did we, since we didn't have a town administrator,
In the
and that
last
money
year,
went back, right, and that money
all
went
the
back
money
into
that
the
went back in the budget, right.
Where did we see that money go?
Well, most of it you can actually see on the budget report. We're well below our budget this year. So we're probably going to end this year with a much larger surplus than anticipated. So last year we budgeted for the $60,000, but we didn't spend all the $60,000. We moved some things around because we're putting cameras in the building, so when we realized there was some money there, but we will end this year under budget because of that savings.
Okay. I'm not necessarily opposed to the salary increase, to the straight salary increase. I don't like the part of the legislation or the ordinance that calls for the council to approve whether or not the mayor gets to act as administrator. I'd like it to be a voting choice to the town. So when we vote, could we vote for, a mayor with administration and a mayor without administration? I'd rather see that kind of platform than to have it be a vacuum of power within the council.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next person on the list is B. Thorne.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I first want to say that I'm not against an increase because I do think that this work is a lot of work, but I have a few questions. So is this something that you can actually answer my questions, or is it just...
I can answer your questions if I can answer them.
One, what is the benefit of you taking on this position versus actually having an administrator fill this position? What's the reason for the change?
What I would say is, for my personal case, that would be if it was me, my skill sets warrant it. I mean, my resume is significant in that I worked for a Fortune 500 company for 18 years. I was senior project manager. I worked for corporate. I was a project manager. I was an accounting manager, so my accounting skills are very strong in terms of oversight of caring for your taxpayer dollars. And I have been an executive director. I've overseen over 40 people globally. I've traveled globally, and I've implemented programs in Singapore and Italy. And so I am a strong, experienced person who happens to be a resident of your town and your mayor. I work for Computer Science Corporation. So my interest in bringing us in the 21st century, making us more efficient, upgrading our website, promoting us and marketing us. These are all the things that I was of interest in doing and was having a hard time moving those things forward with another person in place. So the things that I promised that I would be doing was difficult to happen when it was dependent on someone else to implement it. So implementation by the mayor happens to be, can be a more effective way, but at the same time saves the town money. And as people have mentioned here, we have the highest tax rate in the state. The highest tax rate has to do with this facility. We have a $2.5 million mortgage on this facility, which costs $215,000 a year. And so I'm looking for strategic ways to make that different so that we can cut that cost. We're looking at working with the church down the street about putting in new housing. By bringing in that new housing, I negotiated that with them, for them to make that decision that part of that church land would become residential property, so it comes back onto the tax rolls, and will be more money on the tax rolls than before. So I'm very strategic. I'm very strategic in my thinking and how I handle things, but I have to have the legs and the direct ability to direct the staff in order to get the things done that we want to get done. So that's just mine.
You mentioned the legs. That is another question. What would be the hours? Is this a 9 to 5 position? Is that what that would be?
No, it wouldn't be 9 to 5 per se. I mean, it could be, it's hard to say, particularly, I've never had an hourly job before. So I always work to get the work done, whatever it is it takes to get that work done. But am I here every day? Almost every day. Am I putting in that many hours specifically to the towns? Close, not close, somewhat, but I'm always available to do whatever. As I said, I've run projects across seas from right here. So I always think in terms of how we get things done and what we get things done, and not specifically 2 hours. That's, no sir, I'm sorry. We're in the middle of this right now.
Another concern for me is the fact that I do feel like every year I'm putting more money into taxes, and there are some things that I'm concerned about that haven't been improved. One is the website, and I know that that may seem very basic, but it's something that I go to get information. We still have 2016 information up there. We still have the old information about when to pick up trash. It's not even accurate. So these are things that I'm concerned about when we talk about more money for services that to me are lacking. There are very few times when I call, I actually even get to speak to someone. So it is a little bit frustrating sometimes when I call, or I have questions, or I have concerns about the community. It's not always a quick response. So I'm just trying to figure out what we're going to lose by having you now as 2 roles instead of an administrator and the mayor.
Well, what I'm saying, from my perspective, I've only, like in the last few months, really started to get in. There's so much stuff that came up to the surface when I actually started being here every day. You know, learning how, with our senior bus service, it wasn't being consistent across the board. There were different things. So we've now set up a set of procedures that are very specific, clear cut. Everybody who takes the call does it the same way every time. I haven't got to that website yet, though, because that's a big deal to me, too. If you ever go and see, I built a website for the porttowns.org, and you'll see pretty much, and it's old now because no one's upgraded it, but you'll see my sense of what it should be more of than what we have on ours. And again, I feel like not being here has been difficult to get the things done I want done. When I tell you that we're now doing the tracking, where we have a tracking number on public works items when people call in to have something done, and a part of that is too is that I do this stuff myself. So I can put in and do work. I'm building a website right now for myself, for my campaign. And so I can also do things, not just be overseeing everybody. So I can be a participant in what happens in here as well, is what I do. So that's just a part of what I see going forward in the future. But I waited too long to make the change. I'll admit it. I waited way too long to realize that this was a more effective way to go. And so I've only had a year to really start putting these things in place. As I was depending on other people. I was depending on other people who were working for me to be doing the things that I put forth as my platform. If I have more control over it, I have more likelihood that we're going to get it done. And I do want to mention, we haven't raised any taxes in 4 years. We reduced taxes in the first year that I came in here significantly. We went from 137 to 128 that first year I came in, and we have not gone back over that again. So the taxes that you see raised, taxes that you're seeing raised in your taxes are coming from Prince George's County government, not from this town. We have not raised taxes here.
You gave the business people a tax decrease over the residents.
Everybody got a tax decrease. Everyone.
My only extra comment is that I do think that there needs to be some changes to the ordinance. There needs to be some reworking of it. I do think that we as Colmar Manor should have more say in who is considered an administrator and what your background is and what your skills are. Because in looking at the job descriptions, it's kind of light and fluffy about what's going to be done. And I don't want to criticize the position, because unless you're actually in it, you really don't know the work that is involved. So I do know you have a tough job, but I just want you to understand that as a citizen, I do have some concerns about what that means in giving additional $15,000, and it's not really clear exactly what is going to change. It just sounds like we've gotten rid of staff, but not really clear on how those roles are going to be filled and if they're going to be filled correctly. So that's just my only concerns.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. The next person I have on the list is, how do I say this? Uzas. Where is he? Yeah, I'm sorry. Carvos? I'm sorry, I just can't. If you can say your name, and you're at 3400 39th Avenue.
Yeah. About the $1,000, what I understand is, well, I go to Shoppers, so I see the grapes a year and a half were $1.99 a pound, now are $3.
Pull your speaker closer to your mouth, please.
Okay. And yeah, everything is going up, so I understand the increase. However, when I was working for government also, the increase was about 3%, 4%, 5%, or something like that, according to the demand of every year increase. So how much is from the salary you are asking to increase? How much percent actually?
The $1,000?
Yeah.
Well, the mayor's salary hasn't been increased in 12 years. So I could not, I did not do the calculation of whatever that is over a period of 12 years.
Right now, from $9,000, $1,000, how much is the percent, do you know?
It's a little over 10%.
$10,000 for the $15,000 increase, plus health insurance.
That is, so it's 11%.
11. How many years are you as a mayor?
4.
So $1,000 is okay. It's about 2.5%, 3% per year.
Right.
Since you started, so
Okay.
it's understandable. So I agree with that.
Thank you.
Another thing is why I don't agree is the idea of you have about everybody inform you or the town about the cars, the tax, etc. They give the information to you. I think that a police officer can just go around, see the car, check the tag. They have something to check is the car belongs to the owner, or the car lives in Colmar Manor, and that's it, simple. Nobody need to give you information. The police officer can just check around at the moment.
Only problem with that, sir, everybody that has a car in the town, they don't live in the residence. They sleep there, but they're not legally residing. That's the only difference. We have town houses in this town. One owner, and we got 7, 8, 10 people, 10 cars in that same house. And that's why they've never been able to solve the parking problem. So you got to go at it from a different perspective. And I'm not trying to violate anybody's privacy about who lives where.
Excuse me, Mr. Could we allow Mr. Carbo to continue with his comments? I don't see where I had an opportunity.
You never answered this
Sir,
question.
excuse me. Thank you. Could you go forward? What your statement was?
That the car, if the person's gonna pull off a tag for the car, he has to give an address, and actually the address must belong to Colmar Manor.
People do have visitors that come to their homes.
I am talking about give the information with the cars, everything. I don't think that is necessary if you just check the tag numbers. And if they don't have any permit or something like that, ticket, that's it.
Yes, so what we're working on there is, which we'll be starting in Ward 4, is
Thank you, sir, for your information too, okay? Okay.
for the permits and establish a range area where you should be residential only at certain times of the day. I think it was from 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning. And so once we've got the permits in place and the areas that are defined as this is residential only, then we're going to be doing exactly what you're saying right now. And that is the plan.
Another thing, I understand you're going to hire police officers. I had a feeling that you already have the person who going to be, the two persons who already be the officers. Well, I had that feeling. Anyway, my son already finished, graduated from criminal justice. And he was applying for police officer too, so he can be considered.
He applied here? He applied here?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Well, I know the chief is pretty far down the line in the interviewing process, but I suggest that you go ahead and have him put in his application or resume. But what I can tell you is that probably about 50 or 60% of the municipalities are looking for police officers right now. So there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Okay. And one more thing about crime, stuff like that. I might be blind, but 27 years, I remember it was more crime long ago.
Yes, it was.
There were Monroe on 42nd Street. It was terrible.
Yes.
You remember Miss Blue,
yes,
right?
I do. Yes, I've been 35 years.
Has decreased a lot. I don't go out so often. I have an injury, but yeah, and I have no complaints. Oh, just one complaint. This town is 10 blocks that way and 4 blocks that way. I don't know why on Wednesdays you have to give the address when to pick up the trash when the truck can just go so easy. It won't save any gasoline. It won't be any big issue. For the truck just go 10 blocks this way, 4 blocks, go the intersections and go. I don't know why it has to be.
Well, I don't know what the numbers are right now, but when I first came into office and was really trying to make that big tax cut that we did in that first year, we got a reduction in our trash service bill for changing the bulk trash to by call only, because it just means that they only have to go directly to the places and they can keep moving on. So they don't have to make that round through the whole town. They can move on and go do something else. And I can't remember what the cost savings was, but we had got a cost savings for making it by call only. The other thing about it that way is that what we learned was that when we're a run across everywhere town, and this happens in other towns, when people know that your bulk trash is picked up every something, they start dumping. And they dump in your town. And it happens whenever you have the situation where it's pick up all the time, every time.
But you understand that if somebody dump trash in front of my house, for example, it will be there forever because I never will call. It's not my trash anyway, and there is no solution. And I think that the truck this town is not big like Washington, D.C. or something like that, in order to be by address only. I think just to pick up. Sometimes I forgot about it. I say, oh man, I keep having a table or something. I say, I have to wait one more week. That makes no sense to me.
Okay.
So please think about it.
Well, think about it. Thank you so much. Thank you for your comment. You don't make it simple and you don't make it straight, and it makes it really hard for us to have a clean meeting. I'm just having a meeting right now, so I need to hold a meeting. Can I get another?
Wednesday, people put it out there Sunday, that stuff goes on all the time too, and nothing's done about it.
Is there anyone else? Oh, I have Yolanda Barnett.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, good night. I initially declined to speak because when you said that it was specific to the ordinance proposed, I was thinking other things. But I do want to address the issue at hand. Just from being a resident and being a part-time employee of the town, I'm somewhat perplexed as to even the reason for it, because a lot of citizens may not know that you're here full-time anyway, and I'm just trying to understand why is it necessary to have an ordinance to certify, for lack of a better term, what you're already doing. The increase, in my opinion, and from my observation, what I see you do, even if it was a total $25,000, that's part-time salary for a full-time employee. In just about any organization that you may go to. So I'm just not quite clear as to why not just a $25,000 salary. That's, for most people know that that's a part-time income for someone who's working full-time, unless you're working, a labor job, blue-collar job. So someone mentioned before in terms of the $15,000 being approved by the council members. It seemed like it complicates the whole issue, as opposed to having a proposed salary that the mayor, who is going to be full-time, whether it's you, as you mentioned, you're not doing this because of you, because if someone else comes into that position, that they have to have the skill level to apply for the job to earn that amount of money. For full-time, I don't think we're going to get anyone to apply for a $25,000 full-time job to carry out the duties of a mayor and administrator. So I'm just not quite clear why it's separated if you're going to be doing the job anyway.
Well, I'd be doing the job anyway if I'm lucky enough to get reelected, but and that would make sense. But if someone comes into the job who is not and really isn't interested in being here full time, someone who comes in and their focus is on, like I said, advocacy and policy making, but not really on the day-to-day activities of running a facility, like did that wall get clean and did we do this and did that street get done, and a lot of mayors don't do that kind of stuff. That's not what they're interested in doing as mayors, and that's fine. And so that was the reason for the split, was simply because not all mayors would be there. And so you would wind up with if you wound up with another mayor, you're still going to have to hire somebody to be here, to be watching over everything. And so now you're adding money.
So basically, this proposal, this ordinance is a full-time mayor, but if the person is just, as in the past, just a part-time mayor, that other portion is not part of this new?
Well, one of the things that I would probably request to have changed is that terminology, full-time.
Yeah.
Full-time tends to indicate a 40-hour week. Mm-hmm. But what we're talking about, which is more clearly defined in here, where it says that the mayor will perform the duties of a town administrator, is more directly the intent of the proposal that was made. So this was language that our attorney had put in, and that would be something I'd recommend is not put that way, because the intention is that the town administrative duties are being handled by the mayor.
Right.
And so going flat with that all the way across the board as the ordinance would limit who might want to run for mayor. Because if the requirement for running for mayor is that you're going to be the administrative mayor, then you're limiting people who might want to run for mayor. So that was, I know it made it more complicated, but it is true. And to help answer probably a couple of other questions that had been asked, the mayor of University Park makes $25,000, and that's what the mayor's salary is there.
Okay.
So there's a precedent for it the way that you stated. And there's other towns, in the town of Forest Heights, it's $12,000. But those are what the people are calling full-time mayors, which of course we know is not. The case is that they're running everything. They're the administrator. And but anyway, that's the reason it was split.
Okay,
To answer your question.
I just want to say to those who are here, I've just recently, in a couple months, started working part-time at the town hall. And personally, I am amazed at all that goes on in the town hall. It's not a, I don't think most people have a clue in terms of all the work that's required. It's not only here in the town. We're talking about applying for grants, having meetings in other towns, getting other officials together. And as a citizen, it was an eye-opener. And the mayor, the current mayor, I believe she performs at a high level in terms of getting things that individuals may not know that the town is pursuing, if it wasn't for the current mayor to go after. I think it's probably needs to be, and I'm sure most people say, like, the President of the United States do a lot of things, but we don't know. I think somehow that information needs to be shared with the citizens so that they will be aware of a lot of things that, as an ordinary citizen, we don't know until you're there and you observe it and you see it. So that would be one of my recommendation or suggestion, that the citizens be kept, because even as an example, when I read some of the things that President Obama did, I was just clueless, but it was never mentioned. And I think we owe it as leaders of our town to keep our residents informed. People don't know, so they assume that either nothing is going on or they assume whatever they think is going on. And I would strongly recommend that that becomes part of the information sharing on a regular basis, so people will know.
I appreciate that. And I will say, I hope everybody got the State of the Town newsletter to give you an update of what things going on. And one of the things I want to use that statement to say the contact forms that we sent to everybody's homes is just for that purpose, because we can keep you so much more well-informed when we can communicate with you, particularly by email. But we also plan to go to robocalls so that when there's a short-term event, something that's happening like tomorrow or whatever, we can call you and we can say, this is happening in town. And so those contact sheets is the impetus to actually getting to that place where we and you can be in communication on a very regular basis. So I'll use that to say that, and thank you for that. Thank you for your comments. Sure.
If you, for some reason, don't make it as mayor and someone else decides to take this position on, and then decide that they want an administrator, would we then have to find $60,000 to pay for this person, or is that a whole different stuff? Like, how does that work?
So the election is May 1st, okay, and we're in the middle of doing budgets right now. And so but the budget won't go into effect until July 1st. So if you're going to hire a town administrator, you would be putting it in the budget right now for the year that begins July 1st. And so it would be put in the budget and would be the basis of whatever the tax rate is at that time. The budget for this year, just so that you know, the budget for this year included that $60,000 person. That's why we're going to have a higher surplus at the end of this year than anticipated, because it was in the budget for a $60,000 person. And so if whoever's doing the budget this year, then they'll put the $60,000 in there. If it's okayed by everybody, if I get elected and it's okay by everybody for me to be an administrator, then we would only put the we would only put the $15,000 in there. So does that make sense? Okay. Wait, I want to give somebody who hasn't had an opportunity to speak. You can come up, sir. Can you give us your name? Hold up, spend your pen.
Greetings, Madam Mayor, Councilwomen, citizens. My name is Trina of Ward 1. And
oh, you were on
yes,
there.
Yes, I was on there.
I
thought it was a sign-in sheet.
It's okay.
So I am for the $1,000 raise. I do believe that you do a lot of work here, and we are grateful. I've lived here for 4 years, and I love Colmar Manor. Everything that I sign, I always put Colmar Manor instead of Brentwood because I want to promote it as much as I can. I love living here so much. Regardless of any activities or provisions that are provided, I'm just not aware of them if they are provided. Regardless, I love it here. My main question is, if the original town administrator was a full-time position and you are not only doing your mayoral duties, if you are elected mayor, if you are doing your mayoral duties along with your own professional duties, are there any responsibilities that are the town administrators currently that you may expect to fall by the wayside? Is it something that we could depend on you specifically to serve in both of those roles?
Yeah, you have to think of the mayor role as its general standard role as something that people who work full-time do. So you have to, as a mayor, already take on that extra above and beyond from whatever. I just happen to be an independent consultant, so I have freedom of time in terms of how I go about doing my other income work. And so the answer to the question, for me, I'm going to say yes, because I'm here. I'm here, you know, for most of whatever else I might do, I'm here most of the time. I don't have to be out that often in a way or whatever. But I do also have experience, like I said, in running remotely, doing things remotely. But the answer to your question is yes. I can take on with that full time, and no, there's no need for anything to fall by the wayside.
Okay. I will say that considering what I've learned here, I would be pro keeping a town administrator, primarily because I think that having someone that isn't also having to perform other duties along with their own salary contributing back to our own community, it's just another person that can do that, that can bring their money back into our town. And when I think about it that way, about losing that one person, it can be a big, we're so small that that one person can make a big difference. And that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, is anyone else here who wants to make a comment? Yes. Can you state your name and
Sure.
your address?
Walicia Lee, 3407 43rd Avenue, Brentwood, Maryland. Okay, so I guess the question would be almost what the last young lady have stated. Of course, I think the increase is definitely not a significant increase. I guess my concern would be the dual roles. In my opinion, I just don't believe that elected officials should serve in the same capacity as an administrative person. To me, it would appear that an elected official role, especially as a mayor, would be far exceeding what an administrator should be doing. And I guess the question would be, why are we making this decision right now if we're getting ready to be up for re-election? Is this not something that can be voted upon once, okay?
No, it can only happen before the election.
It cannot.
It cannot happen anytime within the election cycle. Basically, what the charter states is whatever salary is established in the ordinance at the beginning of a term will remain that salary until the end of that term.
Okay, so let's say, now I'm just doing a hypothetical. So let's say if there was a new mayor in the upcoming election. So if it's a voted upon, if that mayor implement or bring this before the elected officials, then what's the difference?
So you mean brought an ordinance before the elected officials?
Yes, the same ordinance.
The same thing. Okay, so the salary right now is $9,000, and whoever that new mayor is will get $9,000. They can bring this ordinance up, you might even vote on it, but it won't be until the next mayor comes in office who they would be able to get that increase.
I see. Okay. Okay, and I'm not sure if this is a question that can be answered. What was the reason that we let go of our administrative person?
Competence.
Okay.
Incompetence.
Okay, okay. So, how many administrative people do we current? Because I heard I'm not sure if you're a paid official. I mean, not official. If you're a paid employee, the young lady that just spoke. So how many administrative people do we currently have?
We have 2 part-time assistant administrators, and we have 1 full-time assistant administrator.
So we have 3. So we have currently 3 administrative people, right? So if we vote for that, I mean, well, apparently we're not voting. The decision is being made by the
council.
The council. Okay, that's another concern. So why? Why do we have so many?
Okay, so they're part-time. I'm glad you asked the question because I like to get straight to the strategy behind things. So before releasing, who was the full-time administrative person, which was the office manager, before releasing, after releasing her, and spending my time here, it was very clear, based on 2 main things that we do, which is the senior bus and this facility, managing the senior bus in this facility, that there needs to be 2 people in the office at each time. Now, mind you, the part-time people we have are being paid, even their rate is like half of what the office manager's rate was, meaning pay rate.
Okay.
So, and they're only part-time. So even with having those 2 part-time people, even if we had a town administrator, even if I was doing the town administrator, we're still saving money because it's only 1 part-time person that was added. But there has to be 2 people here who can answer phones and who can handle people when they come in here for the hall rentals.
Right.
So by having 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, both part-time and both residents, we have the coverage that we need for just the basic stuff that has to happen in the office. So that was the reason that is organized that way.
Are we paying benefits for those individuals to part-time?
No.
Okay. So why, okay, secondly, as it pertains to the council making the decision on this, why is this something that the council would be making a decision to and not the residents?
Well, in terms of the proposal, I mean, when I was making the proposal and trying to think through, well, what's the way to separate out how that decision is made? If we were hiring a town administrator, the residents wouldn't be involved in that hire unless we chose to have the residents involved, like we did with the police chief, where we chose to have the resident involved to hire the police chief. I'm actually not really against that idea. I welcome that some people have brought it up, and maybe what we have is a resident committee that's put together that works with the council in making the determination of that position or not.
Yeah, maybe that should be to the same degree you state as the police chief was the board that, because I think that there's a lot of legalities that need, or things that really needs to be understood as it pertains to the I guess, what's going to be the benefit and then what's going to be the not benefit. What do we lose? Because we could be very well losing versus gaining. And I think it's just not, and I don't mean to be offensive by any means, but this your council. Council is going to agree one way or another. I believe. I mean, I haven't been to other towns. Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, no, I have seen, but I mean, if most likely, you know, I can't say that that nothing is a guarantee. So, but at the same time, not weighing the pros and the cons. That this is strictly has to be a strategic move, and it has to be beneficial to the residents and the town, because yes, I mean, that has always been my argument. We are paying too much taxes, and even though it's stated that there has been a decrease as it pertains to the not from the individual town, but an increase in PG, it's still, we're paying a lot of taxes as residents here. So since because of that, then we need to do whatever we're going to do moving forward. It needs to be strategic moves, not just be making moves. Absolutely. It has to be strategic moves. And I mean, so maybe, you know, yeah, that should be something that is considered, because to me, to have, I just think that it should be something that is, if we're going to give the mayor, just like, okay, this last, let me ask this. Who, when there was raises that took place in the last election, like when the increase took place for the council to get 500 and the mayor to increase to 1,000?
No, there was no increase in the council.
Okay, but who did that? Who made the decision when the council received raises and the mayor received? Who made that?
That was done the exact same way. Well, maybe not quite, but that was about 12 years ago, and it was an ordinance just like any other ordinance. And
so it was done the same way?
Well, I did a hearing. We didn't have to do this hearing. I mean, you don't have to do a hearing for the ordinance. You just have to rest it for 30 days. You introduce the ordinance.
Okay.
And then put it out there and let people know that the ordinance is out there. And then when you come back anytime after 6 days, but no more than 40 days, you vote on it. No more than 45 days.
So did the residents vote on it then?
No, it's always going to be, the council is always the vote, unless the residents take something to a referendum. So if you wanted to take any ordinance that comes out that's introduced and the residents want to take it to a referendum,
Okay.
then they can file with 30% of the voting people of the town, and then it goes to a referendum.
Okay.
I don't want to overdo my legal abilities here, but I don't know if the referendum is binding or unbinding. But it may be binding in that case if you've got a third of the votes, and that forces a public hearing.
Okay.
So, but I do know that it forces a public hearing.
Okay.
And so if if you superpose, you get 30% of the voting population to call a referendum, then you have a public hearing. Well, we called the public hearing. We didn't have to, but I really wanted to have a hearing on the matter. So I've learned some good things here today.
Okay, okay. So I guess, lastly in closing, I guess maybe if we really could consider finding out what the pros are and the cons if this decision is made, just in case you are not reelected, then how it's going to affect this community moving forward. Is it going to be, so any decisions that are made, in any election, it behooves it behooves us to make wise decisions and looking long term, not just for the present. So
Absolutely.
I would really suggest that. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Are you going to vote on this ordinance in totality or as the two separate sections?
So what we're doing here at the public hearing is listening to what you guys are saying, and then making a decision on how we want to move the ordinance forward. If we do it as it is right now and in totality, then we might make edits to it based on your recommendations and suggestions. To split it would be hard only because there's not a lot of time left for the period of time required to take a vote. So if we split it, so this is what will happen. So 2018, let's just say that's just the mayor's salary increase. And then we leave it there, we cut out the rest. And we have the time now to vote on it. So then that would mean that in the April meeting, we would introduce another ordinance, which would be the splitting and the second one, but it would be introduced. Now, in reality, it can be voted on, it has to be voted on within 30 days. And there's not 30 days between the next meeting and the election. After 6 days, a special meeting could be called and it voted on. I don't like that idea because of the transparency of special meetings. Don't usually, really get attention unless they're given a lot of time. But I'm just telling you what the possibilities are. We'll have further conversation as to how we might want to alter this. I'll just say right now, my thinking is going towards establishing maybe a 5-person resident board or a 4-person resident board who wants to participate in the process of the determination of whether a mayor is qualified to be administrator or not, in order to include that in that decision and just leave this together, because at the end of the day, if the discomfort is just this council is the one voting on it, and not having some more input from others, then that can be rectified. But having it in here, if you choose, no, we don't really want to have it work that way, then you'd never have to. It's just sitting here. It's just sitting in here, and it doesn't, nothing forces it to come alive unless you choose to make it come alive. You understand? Does that make sense? Okay, thank you. Mr. Hill?
Yes, can I move that the citizens of the town be allowed some time to evaluate this thing? Because to me, it seemed like somebody trying to rush something down the tube. And we have, basically, because I keep track of all of this stuff, It's almost like something shoved down my throat. We have a right to deliberate some of this stuff. You all work for us. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't want anybody shoving anything down my throat. And I'd recommend you table this whole thing until we get it as a citizen can resolve it. That's fair to us.
So in this particular case, and this is always the case in the terms of a new salary or direction for the mayor, that this is always the case. So this is our format of bringing forth, allowing people to hear. You've said plenty, Mr. Hill, more than most. I'm sorry, you had a question back here. You're out of order.
I'm not out of order. I was still.
You're out of order.
Yeah.
Good evening.
These taxes, I'm not out of order.
Jason Kern from 41st Avenue. I would just like to say that I'm totally against a raise. If residents look into neighboring neighborhoods, you will see that some of their, for instance, Brentwood only makes $6,000 a year. Why are we going to pay a mayor that we're already paying high taxes for a town an additional $4,000 a year? And again, under her leadership, our town has done nothing but fall apart in the last 4 years. I can't be any more nicer at this point. You know, I've put stuff out to residents on email chains. You know, her own personal issues with her home is the same way that she's managed in this town. And we have got to stop this. This is all being set up for her, hoping that she gets into this position and she can continue to benefit off of our town and our taxpayers. That's all I got to say.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, is there any additional people who, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Feel like any mayor is capable of doing both the town administrator job and the mayor job.
Okay. All right. You want to?
Oh, open to. Excuse me, sir, you're out of order. I did want to respond to, I think, Ms. Lee's question slightly, but with more detail maybe later. But, you know, when you have mayors of larger cities, they are the ones that are always running things. And I want to give you guys an example. First of all, somebody may ask the question. Oh, it was about Jason. So in the town of Brentwood does not have a community center that is owned and operated by the town of Brentwood. And you're not going to find any neighboring towns that actually have the same things that we have here. So I just wanted to make a point to that statement. And to your, I mean, I'm going to open this up to everybody here, but somebody threw me off. Oh, we're not talking about dual roles. We're basically talking about the mayor taking on the role of administering the town. And so the mayor is always in charge of the town. In our case, the mayor is the CEO of the town, and some charters are written that way. The charter of Bladensburg makes the town administrator the administrator of the town. Recently in the town of Cottage City, they passed an ordinance to make themselves a commission manager form of government. So it's about the forms of government. So when you have a CEO form of government, which is what our form of government is, it's just been the choice of whomever has been mayor here not to actually be a mayor being paid full time. So Town of Forest Heights is a chief executive officer form of government. So even though the mayor has these duties, the charter makes the mayor the chief executive officer. All I'm asking for is whether or not we're going to pay the mayor to do administrative stuff or pay someone else, but it really is one job. It's not two. So just, and we can, and any of you guys want to pick up the phone and call me at any time and talk more, or hear what my points of view are, please feel free anytime. And I'm going to open up to the council if anybody wants to make any remarks, or specifically to what she asked the question. You know what her question? What was your question again?
we going in? Are we going in order?
Any person elected would be capable of doing both roles.
Mayor-
Anybody who wants to speak.
Oh, okay. Do I think this particular mayor or any mayor?
Any mayor.
Any mayor. I personally would like a town administrator, but I do know this particular mayor is capable of doing it. This particular ordinance was brought to us, like I said, and we, as council, said, let's bring it to the people and hear their opinion on it. I know we do have 2 part-time administrators now, because when our town administrator was no longer employed at the town, we as council and the mayor was brought that we'll bring in 2 part-time to weigh that town. Now, I do know that the 2 part-time residents that we have, I think they're qualified with the guidance of the mayor, because she's definitely qualified to run a town. So I can speak for myself as a council person. I was thinking with us eliminating the town administrator and us hiring 2 part-times, that saves the town money. But this was brought to us, I think, about a month ago, and
2 months. Now.
2 months ago. 2 months ago, and for us to review it and make a decision, and I said, let's bring it to the people. And that's why we're actually here today, to hear your opinion on it. And also, we haven't made a decision on it. We still have to go in and talk about it. If you're not here now, you're welcome to email us, call us. When a young lady said that she called the town hall and know the answer, I can tell you, as being elected official for Ward 3, I am always available. This is my appointment.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, Mike.
You got 2 part-time administrators, 2 half make a whole.
Right.
Why do we need another whole to do the same work?
Well,
one.
from observing, yeah, right.
We always had one. But I'm the one. But you go ahead and, if you have an opinion about it, but I'm the one that structured that.
So like I said, we have 2 part-time. We have a administrator at 1, administrator 2, administrator 3. So like I said, at the beginning, that's how it was. With the 2 administrators that we have now, we have made tremendous change with the guidance of the mayor as far as with the town. And that's why, like I said, with this extra to me, coming forth to 2018 budget, I didn't even realize that we would need another town administrator, because I thought everything was running smoothly.
So you tell me that these part-time administrators don't equal a whole?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They do.
Okay, but we got a whole administrator. Why do we need her assuming the same size? She chose to come up here as a way to generate more income for her situation.
Well,
we already had one we already had a half.
Yeah. Can I answer?
Yeah.
Well, I just can say that she's here doing the work. She's going to do it whatever decision we make. She's passionate about being the mayor, so that.
Former mayors here. The mayor must be myself can tell you how much time it takes for the administrator. You got 2 half-time, part-time administrators. If they're doing that job, we come in and we sign, check, go over whatever needs to be done. I don't see the need, especially for another $16,000 plus health bill.
Well, like I said, I can't say.
And that's on the town's dime.
Right, and that's why we're bringing it to the people, just to ask your opinion. But what I can say with, and that's why we're here tonight. That's why we're here tonight. And I think Jason may have put it on next door saying that if you're against it or whatever, email your council. We haven't even got an email. I did have sidebar questions. You know, people I run into in the grocery store, and they voice their opinion. Some people can't make the meetings. And so we're taking all of that into effect. But I can say, when the town administrator, the former one was here, they did not, I guess I've been here when Mike was the mayor, and I've been here when Sadar was the mayor. And we had a town administrator that was here for a very long time. But I have seen the difference. So when she's no longer with us, I can say all the things that this particular mayor has put in place with, like, for instance, we're moving forward as far as like with the keeping records of our public works. We're keeping records of everything. We're keeping data. So when someone says that the mayor and council is not doing anything, I kind of take that offended, because I spend most of my time half away from my kids doing stuff for the town.
I'm not disputing that.
And you know that, you're my neighbor, so.
When I need to call the police for people urinate and defecate on the parking lot adjacent to my house, I can't call Jack.
Yeah.
For the taxes we pay, we, the citizens, deserve better.
You know.
What I'm saying? And we got two shiny cars and nobody.
We're working on hiring right now.
I'm working on dying.
Excuse me.
I would like to make one suggestion.
Sure.
That we should put out a survey to residents. Like this whole entire meeting was put out, was only done on Nextdoor and through email.
I didn't even get a newsletter.
There was nothing sent to anybody's homes. The newsletter just went out. This should have been in the newsletter. We would have had a lot more residents out here speaking on this matter. And I think that this really does, the brakes need to be pumped on this, and we need to hear from residents. You know, because just with the little bit of residents we have here now,
We got 15 people.
you know, they're all against it.
1,500 people in the town. 15 residents.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Can I answer?
Let the residents know what's going on with our taxpayer money.
Can I answer, Mayor?
Sure, you can.
Correct, Jason. We have noticed that when we do put surveys out, it seems like that we get a good response, like we did with the Halloween. Actually, we're in process now of doing a survey with the mosquito spray. Our meeting is live all the time. We're here, our work session. But like I said, some people work 2 jobs, they got kids, and it's not that they're not interested, it's that they don't have the time, or they're not on the computer. So I do agree with you on that. We have up until April the 4th, or next, to make a decision, so.
Yeah, actually, it's the second Tuesday.
The second Tuesday in April.
In April. If I can, one thing I want to say, the amount of effort, we sent out the contact forms to every single household. I even got berated by someone about us sending it instead of sending it to bulk mail, asking for the contact forms to be returned. At this point, we probably received about, well, initially, we received about 10% voluntarily. Then with a little pressure, when people come up here, anytime people come up here to do business or whatever, my staff is all doing the, with the forms. Having the forms fill out. So we're up to about maybe 15% now. You can bring, the people say it all the time, you bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. We have put a lot of effort into finding ways in order for people to become involved, and if that's what they choose to do, the availability is here for them. So we can't keep running everything around in circles, and I'm going to have to slightly disagree with Councilmember Jackson about the Halloween. I enjoyed the response we got for Halloween, but it still was only about 10%. So in terms of what they turned in, so we still had like 90% of no one paying attention. So so we're going to keep doing that. I mean, as long as I'm in office, we are going to keep working on getting that contact, because once I have, you know, email addresses of the 1,500 people here, less the children, whatever the children amount is, we're going to be communicating regular, and everyone will be knowing what's going on ahead of time, and we will know you're making choices. So I would just say that at this point in relationship to that.
And I wanted to say also with the contact sheets, because we notice if we do send a newsletter, if you have more than one person in a household, sometimes it's that only one person gets to see it, because if they have kids, that's adult kids, they don't get to see it. And the contact sheet is very important, because we had a resident that had a water main break that was out of town, and no one knew how to get in contact with him. And we had to actually go in his house. So a contact sheet is very important. Just to
Right.
Okay,
right.
Okay.
Just really quickly, and I don't want to disrupt it,
Okay.
just to add to some of it. I think that maybe you said that you're good at training an administrator, so maybe what we need to do is get an administrator who is able to dedicate themselves to this position, update your website, provide all the information that we need, and that way you're able to do the job that you're doing as the mayor. But I am concerned that this vote, we have no say in. So what's the next step? Because it kind of just sounds like we all are just here just to have a conversation. I thought that this was that the next step was that we were going to all vote or have a next step. It sounds like you all are going to vote whether we agree, disagree, or not. Is that correct?
No,
No,
what we'll do is, we'll go, well, and we have another work session coming up, so during that will be on the agenda for discussion, and we'll go through points in here, whether we want to remove things, whether we want to alter things, whether we want to change some stuff, make it different. Hey, I mean, we could change we could go with the whole one salary of $25,000, and it's, you know, and still hire a town administrator. I mean, there's a multitude of things that can be done. But the point is, we're listening to everything that everybody's saying in here, in terms of including or altering it in order for it to work more. You had a question?
That gentleman gave me some concerns. What happened is he said the town is falling apart, and I say, well, what are the specifics? Where, how is coming apart? And the ex-mayor, he's right. If something happened, police takes a lot of time to arrive and see the problem, and when the police arrive, everything is gone already. You know, but it's not only here; it's everywhere. So it's something that probably with 2 police officers, additional police officers, that won't happen. Mm-hmm. When somebody come here to express something, please give more specifics, because I was sitting there and say, where is falling apart? And the only thing I see falling apart is my neighbor's house that is abandoned for many years. That's the only thing. After that, yes, things in the towns are like waves, good days, bad days, but falling apart. I cannot disagree, because I don't know what you were talking about.
Are you satisfied with the services that you get? Our trash services?
Actually, my complaint.
For the last 2 years,
Yeah.
I've had to follow the trash truck around just to get them to put the cans back onto the sidewalk. Our mayor could not do that. That's one example.
Yeah.
Another example is we used to have maintenance people that actually clean the streets in the town. They just drive around in the cars now. They no longer clean the streets. So residents have to clean the streets. I'm the only resident on 41st Avenue that cleans the whole entire street.
I admire
Years to get a fire hydrant per page.
I admire that initiative. Do you know why? Because some years ago we had some neighbors, new neighbors, who used to drink beer, leave beer cans, everything. I myself have to pick up. And I talked to the guy, the one who claimed the maintenance of the town. Actually, they didn't listen, but I didn't come to the mayor, and nobody told you. So this is a point too. Many complaints sometimes stay between us and the people. Actually, we don't come to you when you were mayor or now here. So I believe the procedures is first to tell the maintenance guy. He doesn't comply, then you make the complaint to the town.
Yes. So this is the reason why we've implemented the work order program, and once we get the website, the way I want a website set up, so that people can go on the website and actually enter in an interest or a complaint they have. This is how I expect things to be done. I'm a high-tech person, and so this has been really challenging me in this low-tech environment. And so I'm working towards getting these things put in place. I mean, just getting to be able to accept credit cards has been a challenge until I was in the space. For 3 years, we're supposed to be getting them, 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 and then it's just not happening. I want to say that when I first came in here as mayor, And for any employee who is still here, know that they are still here because they have made some improvement. But this place was like the inmates running the asylum. There was no one was oversight to anything that was happening here. And so as I worked super hard, and the council knows this over and over and over again, in order to urge on what I would like to see when I walk in the door, it would happen for a minute. I'd show up and there'd be a lot of activity. Then I'm gone, and then I come back and things are all back in the same way they were. It was a very frustrating scenario here. I'm trying not to be unkind, but the previous administration did not look into what was happening from an administrative point in this town. And so one day, and I'll just give you all an example, and it's getting late, I don't want to hold you up on your time, but I want you guys to get an understanding of my passion behind why I wanted to do this and why I actually enjoy doing it. But one day I came to the building and there was a sign that was on the door that said, "Close the door behind you." And it had been put up on the door before a really bad rainy day. I mean, rainy 2 days or 3 days. And so when I looked at this sign on the door, it was running. So it was just running down the door. Now, mind you, I came in and it was 10 o'clock in the morning. And so I took a picture of it, and then I was going to say something, but I decided not to say anything. And so I left, still standing on the door, all wittily running down the front of the door, and I came back the next day. I went to the council members, I said, "I want you to see this. You guys see what's on that door? That's been on this door. Every single person that works in this building has walked through this door with this running thing down the front of our building and not saw it." This is what I was experiencing from whatever was going on in here. When you talk about what Public Works was doing now, Public Works is far more on a regiment now than they were before. Before, when people don't have their leadership in front of them, they get lackluster. And so by being available and being here, and also having the skill set, having run places and people and things, then it has really strengthened the ability to get what you want out of these people. Are they perfect yet? Are we there yet? We're nowhere close to being where we need to be yet, but we're making progress. And you know, my focus, number one, was getting this building rented. Getting this building rented, getting a standard way of renting the building so people didn't feel like some people were getting favors and others weren't. So that's been a big, super experience from going to 22,000 to 90,000. We're gonna go over 90,000 this year in renting this building. That is to save you, the taxpayer, dollars. And I can leave it at that, but I just want to let you know that's how I got here. Oh, for next steps in terms of, there's a lot of next steps. Oh, you mean in terms of next steps is, for the ordinance? Right, well, the next steps is that we're going to take back all the information that you guys have provided, and then we'll rework the ordinance. And when we have the meeting on, what is the date of the next meeting?
April the,
You said it the 4th, right?
are you talking about the work session there?
The regular meeting. When's the, give me one second.
third.
When's the regular
April
meeting?
3rd?
We will,
Oh, 10th?
The work session is on
the next meeting will be on the 10th. Whatever changes that we make for everybody, April the 10th. Yeah, so if there's any changes that we make to the ordinances or decisions for everybody that's on this list, we'll let you know what that is, so you'll be able to hear it beforehand. This is the input, yeah, and we're listening.
The vote, you're saying, the vote.
Everybody, well, the vote is the council, period. I mean, that's just to give. So we'll be meeting again on the 3rd. We'll be meeting again on the 3rd. So if we make any changes to this ordinance or make a decision to keep it the same, we'll report out to everybody that's on this list so that you have an idea, and then you can give feedback to your council member or me at that time as well. And then when the final vote? The vote is on the 10th of April. Okay. Long way to get to that one.
Do we, the citizens, have any issue regarding denying that vote, since you all work for us?
You can vote against them.
I said, will we have any input as far as to stop the vote from happening? That's what I'm asking.
Well, that was, I thought, I mean, that's the reason for tonight,
That's
so we
the whole
can,
purpose of
so
you
we
being
wanted
here.
to bring it to the community.
How many people in here
That's what I was
disagree with this particular vote right now? Raise your hand. I'm not trying to put anybody.
No, that's a great idea.
I believe it needs to be tweaked. I think there's some changes.
And I think we can make some changes, and based on your feedback, we will.
Is it possible to include the ordinance in the next email, the updated one?
That's good.
Sure. You haven't gotten an email.
I got one about this meeting here, but that's the first, I didn't get a newsletter for the last 2 or 3 months. I just got an email the other day about this meeting tonight.
Well,
You should check your junk mail. Yeah, you should check your junk mail, because we're using the same mailing list. So if you got this one, you should have got that one.
Actually, this one was sent from your personal,
Yes, it was sent from me.
but I believe the newsletter
But,
was not.
no, but we're using the same mailing list. We're using the same list.
We heard from Councilmember Jackson on her position. I'd like to hear if any of the other council members have any
Please,
Yeah.
input of what they think about this.
please.
Thank you, Jason. Yes, Councilmember Blue, Ward 1. I first want to thank everybody for coming out. It's very important that we hear from you before we can make any decision. It was based on the citizens. And so I just want you to know the words mean a lot to us. And I myself, you elected me, and I'm here to represent you. So I will consider everything you said. Thank you. Cynthia?
No, like Ms. Blue said, it all depends on what y'all want. So we just listening. That's it. Thank you.
Just want to thank all of you for being here tonight due to the inclement weather. All of your comments and concerns, we will definitely take everyone into consideration with this ordinance, and moving forward will help to see what we'll do for the future. Thank you.
So if you all got the email from me about this meeting, when we make tweaks, we'll send the ordinance back out to the whole mailing group, so that anybody and everybody, even those who couldn't make it here, will be able to see what those tweaks are.
Could we also put it on the website, because that hearing for the night actually goes on the website?
Okay, thank you.
And also, if you, when you leave this meeting tonight, and you may go home and think of some different things or suggestions, please feel free to email the mayor and council, because that was, like I said, that was my main reason to make sure that we have it, because your input does matter and it's very important to us. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And thank you all for coming out also. And if it's your first time being here, if you want a tour, let me know. I'll show you
yes,
around.
and I love the tour of the building. I thank you all so much for coming out, and I really have to say I honestly appreciate some of your very good feedback, which I appreciate very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn this hearing?
I'll
I'll make that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.